Welcome to Draft for Upside. I am Brewerymark. With me is Danger Cole.
Howdy, howdy.
And welcome to week 8. Um, we're broadcasting in the afternoon. I don't know, do you have a beer out there, Danger?
I'm actually on a little bit of a beer break right now, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I'm on a little bit of a medication, so I'm not supposed to be drinking, but we do have a fall beer fest, of course, this weekend. So we'll see how that resolve lasts.
Yeah, exactly. Got to save the liver for Friday and Saturday.
That's right. I'm supposed to be off for 4 weeks, but I also am going to FOBAB, Festival of Barrel Aged Beers, here in about 3 weeks. So it's we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
That's awesome. All right, so where do you want to start out? You want to do a Thursday night preview?
Well, let's take a peek at Thursday night. We got Miami at Houston, and Thursday night games have been pretty good the last few weeks.
Yeah, surprisingly, they actually scheduled some decent matchups this year.
hmm I'm not so sure about this matchup. Um, I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I mean, I think Miami's defense is okay, and Houston's offense is okay. Um, Miami's lost pretty much everyone. So for me, if you had the option to play Houston as defense and seasonal this week, I mean, I don't know how Miami's going to keep going. I mean, you got Frank Gore, who's almost 40 years old. Albert Wilson's out. Kenny Stills is out. They're playing Brock Osweiler, for God's sake.
You're
So,
not a believer in Brock?
I'm not. I never liked him. I didn't like him his first go round, and I'm certainly not a fan of him. This the third team in 4 years now?
Yeah, he's the number one scoring fantasy quarterback the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that could be true. Could be true. But no, not a believer. Houston's defense is good enough to be able to keep them in check. They're at home. Um, I don't really like anybody on the Miami side. I thought we'd see a little bit more Kenyon Drake last week against the Lions. I thought their game plan wasn't great, and I just don't know what to make of it. I mean, Devontae Parker. I mean, you gonna take a shot on Devontae Parker if you're playing Thursday night DFS?
Is he actually playing
They
after all
say he's
the
gonna play.
all the controversy of he was healthy and they benched him anyway?
They say he's gonna play, and I don't blame them. They don't have anybody else.
I know, I couldn't believe that when everybody was getting hurt and they were like they only have two receivers left,
Yeah. No,
which
it's not
was
good.
it was good for my lineups with Kenyon Drake because they kept having to split him out, so I was getting some PPR points.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna see that again. I think Houston is vulnerable in the slot area, and they don't have a slot receiver. They're all hurt, so
Yeah,
it could just be Kenyon Drake playing out there. But
yeah,
looking at the rest of their lineup, I mean, I guess you could take a shot on Parker. I'm gonna pull up a DFS matchup for Thursday and see what they've got him priced at here.
yeah. I would say the only one I would do Amendola. It would be my personal opinion if you're gonna
Sure.
play anybody on Miami. So Albert Wilson's out, Kenny Stills is out.
Here's the problem though, is that Amendola is also a little dinged up, and he's made of paper. So I don't know if increased targets for him is really going to pan out for him.
Well, let me put it this way: if I'm not gonna play a Thursday through Monday lineup, or if I did, I wouldn't even bother with this game.
Sure.
Um, now I do enjoy playing the um, showdowns, the single game showdowns,
Sure.
and you have to have a player on Miami. So yeah, I would
So
say my number one pick's Amendola, followed by Drake.
sure. Well, it looks like they're going to start Jakeem Grant and Devontae Parker on the outside, and they're going to have Amendola play in the slot. Um, if Parker or Grant can't get open, I could see them sliding a lot of Drake outside to help with that core, and especially if they're going to go 4 or 5 wide. Obviously, they don't have that many guys, so it's going to have to be Drake. So I could see Drake playing well there. If you're interested, Devontae Parker's 3,200.
That is dirt cheap.
It sure is. And he's going to get the volume if he's out there because there's nobody else to throw it to. So, yeah, if they put him out there and he stays healthy enough to play the whole game, I don't see why he's not going to get 8 or 9 targets, to be honest, because there's nobody else there.
Right? No, I totally agree.
So, for me, I mean, if you're going to play Thursday, 3,200, take a shot on it. Why not? I mean, he's going to get between 7, 8, 9 targets. I think he'll catch 3 or 4 balls for 50, 60 yards. If he's lucky, gets in the end zone. But I think Houston might have a shot at a shutout in this game.
No, it's a good call because you always have to have that super bargain basement player in these showdowns.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't looked at the showdown pricing. Maybe I should.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Showdown captain mode. Let's
I
see.
won
So,
I won money last week on a showdown. That Kansas City game,
mhm.
or was it the Kansas City game? One of the games I just played defenses and kickers,
That's funny.
and it worked out perfectly. I won like $100.
Right. So Devontae Parker in the showdown is coming in at 3,400, or I believe that's like 5,400 in the captain spot. I wouldn't trust him to get enough volume to go in that captain spot, but I mean,
No,
you got to have some very, very cheap guys in there. Speaking of that, who's playing tight end for these guys?
that's a good question. I
As
don't even know.
Gasecki's out,
Yeah,
so he's questionable, I guess. But I thought that I'd saw that he was out, but it says questionable. Durham Smythe, the only other guy available at tight end for Miami in this game, at least according to DraftKings. Because it
yeah,
looks like Mike Gesicki is hurt and AJ Derby is hurt. So that leaves Durham Smythe for $200.
ugh, nah. Again, I think that we're down to Drake is going to get lots of short yardage passes.
Yeah, it's quite possible. So Drake's going to be $7,000. He's the most expensive player outside of QB for Miami, and I don't know.
No, there's your sprinkling for the showdown.
Right? And on the other side, I mean, Hopkins, fine. Watson, sure. Fuller, all right. I mean, all of them are fine. Lamar Miller seems to be playing a little bit better now, and Miami's run defense is terrible. So I wouldn't mind even a little bit of Lamar Miller up in there. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at probably playing kickers again. Why not?
Yeah, I don't see this as like a shootout or anything. Um, what is even the line on it? Let's see here. Let's see. Miami Houston. 45 and a half on the under. Houston's a 7-point favorite. So they're looking for a pretty low scoring game. It's the second lowest scoring game of the week, according to
Hmm.
Vegas. So kickers, I think, are a good play. Lots of field goals in this one. So that means we're looking at a 28 to 17
Hmm.
type of game. So yeah.
More like 35-10 if you ask me.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Just going by the implied odds.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so
That,
I think kickers are a good play on both sides.
yeah, no, I like it. I haven't been doing too many showdowns to be honest. So I did that first couple of weeks, and I'm just too busy Thursday night, man. I just can't watch football. Yeah, I got an event at Grand Trunk downtown tonight. I just well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I'll put a lineup in and keep a left eye over on the screen for the night.
I was gonna say there should be TVs there.
Right? Maybe. So, anyways, let's get into the week, shall we?
Sure.
How did first off, how did you do last week in DFS and seasonal?
Seasonal, I'm just sucking it up completely. I think I play too much DFS. I can't pay attention to seasonal anymore.
Definitely, definitely can happen. Well, if it makes you feel any better, um, I went 6-0 in all my leagues.
Yeah,
I
that's
won. I
good.
won them all, and I've wasted all but $17 of Paul Star's sponsorship money. So, not doing well in the DFS.
Well, you can be our season long expert.
That's what it's coming down to. So, well, I sadly I had a pretty stacked team at the Brewery League, and with the news of Hyde being traded to Jacksonville, I had Hyde and Chubb. So suddenly I had Chubb in a good spot, and Hyde just one Yeldon injury away from being the starter in Jacksonville now.
Right.
Um, so in that league, I decided to make a trade because my wide receivers were real thin, um, and I had the bye weeks going on. So this week I've got Keenan Allen, Philip Rivers, and Melvin Gordon all on a bye. I've got Cooper Kupp, um, doubtful, probably not going to play. So, I need to make a move. And I had Joe Mixon, Gordon, Chubb, Hyde, and I traded for Le'Veon Bell about a week ago because I could stash him and I didn't need I traded him Delvin Cook, which hasn't played since I traded him. So that's looking good so far, right?
Yeah.
So, but I needed a wide receiver, so I traded James White for Mike Evans, basically. And Deshaun Jackson because I didn't want Evans and Jackson, and I needed the extra space on the roster anyways for the bye weeks. So I traded him, but then of course Sony Michel gets hurt, and now I look like I'm getting fleeced on that trade.
Well, it
Oh,
was good trade when you pulled it.
yeah, I thought so, and I ran it by a few people, and with Mixon and with Gordon and Nick Chubb now the star in Cleveland. With still have Hyde sitting back there and then Bell coming back, I really did have too many running backs. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm 6-1 in that league. I can afford to, hopefully can afford to take a hit this week if it doesn't work out. But it certainly sucks to be contending for first place and have um, four of your best players on buys.
Right.
Well, but, doing well. I haven't looked at the show league. I think I'm back tied again.
I won this week just because DJ Glenn forgot to put in his lineup.
Oh, hate when that happens.
But
Hate when that
so
happens.
I think
So
I'm
we
4-3 now.
looks like it. And then we have got three people tied at 6-1. Um, let's see. No, you're 3-4.
3-4. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got
I
three
hated
people
that
tied at
team.
6-1. We've got one team at 4-3, and everyone else is 3-4 or 2-5. So it's turning into a real top-heavy league with myself and Ray Sherwood and Scott Newman Bale leading the charge.
Yeah, Scott's been doing good.
Yes, yes. So let's see how that finishes up. See. All right, well, let's turn to the games on Sunday, the most important day. So we'll address the first game, which of course is this another in a series of London games, Philadelphia at Jacksonville. A lot of people got screwed last week, forgetting that the game started at 9:30 and didn't get Melvin Gordon, who was scratched at about 10 o'clock at night the night before.
Yeah.
So man, that sucked for them. Luckily, I always have my alerts on, so I saw Gordon had been ruled out and we got him swapped out, but man, the vitriol on Facebook messages the day after on all the threads that I follow about having Gordon stuck in their lineup and waking up at 10 a.m. and can't do anything about it. Man, that sucks.
Well, I guess you need to pay attention.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, I don't care if it's a free league or not. I got pride on the line. I'm always checking those lineups. So, anyways, what do you think about this London game? We got Philly at Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense has pretty much lived up to what it's supposed to be, except for the one freakish game they got shut out. And then Philadelphia, not quite up to what we thought, although it is pretty common to have that Super Bowl hangover. Um, I'm shocked they haven't made any moves. That all the moves going on in free agency or trade deadline coming up here. I really thought I would have seen them bring in maybe a running back, but then the team seems like they're looking for a wide receiver. I mean, what do you make of that?
Uh, I don't know. Blake Bortles is just so bad this year. It looks like he regressed to 2 years ago
Hmm.
when everybody thought they were just going to cut him. And then he had that great run last year. But this year, he's just terrible. He's back to throwing his slow motion windups, and I don't know. Well, they went and got Carlos Hyde. Um, they let Jamal Charles go.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. They do need receivers. They None of their receivers can get open.
Yeah, their problems are worse than that, but their defense is solid. They could use a new quarterback. I mean, I keep hearing kind of the rumors that Eli Manning might either get traded or sign there next year because that's his old coach there is in charge of the offense down there. Um, it would make sense. I mean, they have a better offensive line. Eli can still throw the ball; he just can't move.
Yeah,
So, I I don't know. It was up those two. I don't know if you saw the late game, but the two quarterback sneaks back to back. He tried to pull off with 40 seconds left on the clock.
yeah,
About the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Um, but it'd be interesting if they could pull that off. And they've got Hyde and Yeldon's actually been very serviceable, and Fournette coming back. They're going to be all right. They, like you said, need some wide receivers. Um, the other side of the ball, Philadelphia, they're desperately in need of running backs. I keep waiting to see that, traded for Le'Veon Bell pop up, but both teams seem pretty vocal that that's not going to happen.
yeah. They're just doing the committee approach, and it looks like it's pretty much 50-50 between Smallwood and Clement. Little Josh Adams sprinkled in.
Hmm.
Um, but they're just going to be heavy on the pass like they were last year.
Hmm.
And so far, it looks like Wentz is finally getting back to his game shape form, and Alshon Jeffrey's doing great, and Zach Ertz is Zach Ertz. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I kind of see this as kind of almost a blowout game.
That's possible, but Jacksonville is at home. The projected score is basically 24-18 in favor of
Well,
Philadelphia.
home being Wimbledon.
Right, home being Wilmington for sure, I guess. Yep. So, the projected score is 24-18. It'll be interesting to see what happens. They're both East Coast teams, which makes it a little easier to fly out there. I always feel bad for the West Coast teams that fly out there because it's a 9 hour time change.
Yeah, I guess yeah, Vegas thinks it's going to be low scoring and close. They have it
Hmm.
as Philadelphia's 3-point favorite.
Yep. 42 total.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably going to stay away from this game, DFS wise. I mean, I do have one lineup I'm playing Thursday through Monday. I'm not terribly interested in this game.
No, I don't think it's necessary to play. It's not on the main slate.
Hmm.
Um, so if you want to have fun doing the Thursday to Monday game, that's cool.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think anybody worthwhile is going to be too expensive. Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, Carson Wentz would be the only players I would play out of this game, and they're all going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get a DFS lineup started for the main slate and take a couple looks.
Okay.
So I'm on DraftKings, as I usually am.
I've been having a horrible year on DraftKings. I've been
Yeah.
kicking butt on Yahoo and FanDuel, which is basically causing me to break even because I'm doing so bad on DraftKings and I can't
Ha,
figure it out.
that's funny. Well, I'm doing terribly all over the place in DFS, so this might be my last week playing DFS, Mark, so you might just have to take over completely. So, we'll see how it goes. So, looking at the quarterback, it tops out with Patrick Mahomes, 1 o'clock game. They're in Kansas City. Denver comes to town. Um, Denver's got a pretty solid pass defense, but I'm not scared. I mean, Mahomes has proven he's just balling right now, and if he's your guy, I got no problems playing. Not even thinking twice about him.
No, he seems to be matchup proof. So I think he's a rock solid play.
Absolutely. And then the next game, I could go either way. Aaron Rodgers or Jared Goff. I like both of them. Um, I'm shocked that Goff is all the way down as the one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eighth quarterback in price. When they're playing at home against Green Bay, maybe they just believe that Gurley's just gonna run all over the place, get another 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I that's what I think so too. He's just why not give it to Gurley?
hmm Yeah, absolutely. So I could see Aaron Rodgers having to sling the ball everywhere again. Of course, the Rams have a pretty steady defense, but I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. You don't worry about it too much. So I like that game. I like that game to be very high scoring. I like it to shoot when the Rams went over to play San Francisco, I mean, it was like 37-34. So I could see the Green Bay team putting up a bigger fight, and I think this has got kind of shootout written all over it. Might be a little chalky, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, so it's got the highest odds. We got the Rams favored by 10.5. Over under is 56.5. So
Yeah.
Vegas is expecting a shootout. And if the line is correct, um, they're predicting the Rams to take the lead, and then that means Aaron Rodgers is going to have to sling it. Not
hmm
that he has any kind of running game, anyways,
Right.
but this is the type of game that completely eliminates Green Bay's running game.
Oh, absolutely.
So
So,
I'd be looking at Aaron Rodgers is probably the quarterback play in this game.
hmm
He's getting Geronimo back this week. It might be a good cheap flyer to go on.
and I thought I saw that possible Cobb might play as well.
Yeah, so he'll have his receivers back. So, and then obviously Gurley would be the Rams play, and I love Robert Woods. I've been playing him every week, and he's been making me money.
For sure. Yeah, Green Bay's defense is garbage. So the problem is if they get out to a fast lead and Gurley runs the first couple in, then there's going to be no action for Goff, which is what's happened the last couple of weeks.
Right.
So, but when you're looking at the rest of the quarterbacks on the slate on DraftKings, I mean, this is a wide open day. I mean, you really, I don't even know. Normally, you and I, we start with our quarterback and kind of work down, but I don't know that we need to do that this week. We might be filling out the rest of the lineup and coming back up because, I mean, you got Mahomes and Rodgers, you got Luck at Oakland, you got Dalton playing against Tampa Bay, Ben Roethlisberger in a grudge match with Cleveland, Mitchell Trubisky, who's been on fire at home against the Jets, Jameis Winston playing at Cincinnati, uh, Jared Goff, Wilson in Detroit. I mean, basically the top 10 guys, I could make a case for all of them.
Yeah, yeah. This is definitely a slate that you don't have to spend up on quarterback.
Yeah, you don't even really have to think about it. I mean, Baker Mayfield could put up numbers against Pittsburgh. Seattle's defense on the road has not been as good, so you could make a case for Matt Stafford. I mean, I can go all the way down here and look at Case Keenum having to throw the ball 60 times against Kansas City. I mean, you could make a case for pretty much any one of these guys down here. I probably stop at Case Keenum. I don't like Alex Smith or Eli. I don't like Beathard. Um, I don't like Darnold. Um, so I'd stop there. But I mean, you can get any quarterback basically for 500 or 5,000, 5,600 and up, and they're all fine. So don't stress too much about quarterback this week. Let the rest of the matchups kind of dictate where you go at quarterback if it's we're talking.
Okay, I'm finally logged in here. I could not get logged in.
hmm So moving over to running back for the day. I mean, honestly, the quarterback, it's just one of those. Just pick the one you like. I think there's a lot of great options out there. I don't think there's a lot of trap games this week. Um, I would just fill out my lineup and see who my wide receivers and tight ends turn out to be, and kind of match it up from there. But looking at running backs, Todd Gurley, of course, tops the range at 9,800. Um, It says here that according to DraftKings, Green Bay is the seventh best team against the run, and maybe that's just because people are throwing the ball all over them. I just I don't mind Gurley. I mean, if you can afford him, you want to put him in there, go ahead. I mean, Saquon Barkley has been pretty much the only player putting up numbers in New York consistently, 8,800. Continuing down that list, James Conner against Cleveland, 7,500. And, he's got to keep making statements because he wants his job when Bell comes back, right?
Right.
Um, but I think I love Mixon again. I like Kareem Hunt again. So, I might start my lineup. My first thoughts here is to start with Joe Mixon and Kareem Hunt.
It's not bad. I want to throw in the possibility of maybe Marlon Mack against Oakland.
Sure. Yeah,
Um,
Mac exploded last week.
yeah, and at 5,400, he's quite a savings. He could be a flex option
Hmm.
as a money savings. I do like Mixon against Tampa and
Hmm.
Kareem Hunt against Denver for sure. Especially at home, it's in Kansas City. So,
Right.
and then yeah, Gurley I don't play in GPPs. He's just too expensive.
Hmm.
But I think Gurley is almost a must in a cash game. Um, he's been the only bright side, even though he's a lot of chalk.
Sure.
But for our purposes here, you want to start with Mixon and Hunt?
I just was looking through the numbers. I don't know if we have to plug them in, but I just love those two guys matchups. I love the price at right around $7,000. I just think that if not both of them, at least one of them makes the best play of the week.
Are you worried at all about Cincinnati's big letdown against Kansas City?
Not particularly. Andy Dalton just loves to just lay a turd on primetime games.
Yeah.
He just has a history of it, so I'm not scared of it, to be honest.
Okay. Well, where do you want to start? You want to throw those two in and we'll see?
Yeah, no, I just see how it turns out. We can always go back and change it later.
Okay, so both of them are priced in the 7,000s, so we're going to have to go kind of mid range wide receivers, I think. We have Hunt, so I don't think we need to play Hill.
Agreed.
Um, I don't want to spend 8,500 on Antonio Brown.
No, but I really think he's due for another big game.
Yeah.
But if you want a piece of that, I mean, I think it just keeps every week being an option that Juju Smith-Schuster for 1,000 less.
Right. Yep. I like that play a lot better.
Hmm.
I love Robert Woods, especially in this Green Bay game that could turn into a shootout. Tyler Boyd kind of disappointed last week,
He
but
did.
but it's Tampa. Oh man, I I really want to kind of play Cincinnati receivers against Tampa.
No, that's true. No, AJ Green is right there. Mixon and Green for me is kind of a 1-2 punch in that. I really kind of like that idea. Um, that makes sense to me.
Now, would you rather go AJ Green or Tyler Boyd? Tyler
I'd rather
Boyd's $2,000 cheaper.
He is, but I feel like Green is still that focal point, and Boyd just survives when teams finally decide to triple cover Green. I mean, Green is just tearing it up. The last four games, 21.7, 15.5, 20.2, 17.8. I mean, it's basically 18, 19 points just locked up, guaranteed.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So he's at 8,000. So we want at least 16 points out of him. Our goal is 24.
Hmm.
So it sounds like he's bouncing right in that range. If we throw him in, he's going to be pretty expensive. So we need to go with a low end receiver after that.
Agreed.
Um, is Cobb playing? Cobb's only 4,900. He is on course to play Sunday.
Honestly, I'm almost thinking about throwing Jameis Winston up in the quarterback spot and looking at either a Godwin or a Humphreys to save a bunch of money, but have that connection and have that fight against Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
So basically, Mike Evans notwithstanding, the other options there are Deshaun Jackson at 53, Chris Godwin at 45, or Adam Humphries at 34.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like Winston's got any kind of chemistry with those guys. He likes Godwin.
He
Um,
does,
he
but
forces the ball to Mike Evans, but
Chris Godwin has gotten 15 targets in the last two games since Winston's come back, and he's got 11 catches for 115 and a touchdown.
hmm
So he's been there. I mean, he's the last game he got 10.9, and the week before that 17.6 with full-time Winston back. So I don't
yeah,
mind Godwin there.
yeah.
Um,
Godwin's the one I like.
And Deshaun Jackson, he just is only good for those long balls.
Yeah,
And
and since Winston came back, he's not
mhm.
really. I mean, against Cleveland, he only had 4 targets and 2 receptions.
Right.
So
And he only basically scored any fantasy points last week because of the end around that he took for a touchdown,
right.
which wasn't even a catch. So I like Godwin there. So if we're looking at that, I mean, the guy that I like the most to also go possibly with Winston is OJ Howard. I mean, he continues to just be a force, except for the game that he got injured in and didn't play week 4. Look at this. Week 2, 18.6. Week 3, 13.2. Now Winston's back. Week 6, 16.2. Week 7, 11.7. I mean, he's just chucking the ball to OJ Howard, and it's 3,900. So you could get a three-way piece of Jameis Winston with Goodwin and Howard there, and that would leave 5,400 to find that next wide receiver slot. So if you put Marlon Mack in the flex,
Do you like Marlon Mack in the
I
flex?
do as long as he's healthy. I see he's got a questionable tag, and he was limited in practice yesterday, but I haven't seen a report today. But I think he's going to be fine. And I tell you, you know what my favorite, you'll never guess what my favorite defense of the week is. You'll never guess.
Uh, um, the Lions.
The Lions. Can you believe it? They're going to get blown out because I'm endorsing their defense. I have picked terribly with defenses all year long.
It's not bad. The Lions are second in sacks this year.
Yep, and they just added the number 2 or number 3 run stopper of the year so far, who's
Yep.
finished the last 2 years number 1 in tackles.
Yep.
So I like them, and Seattle doesn't play well on the road. Their running game is banged up. Their passing game is banged up. Their offensive line is terrible. I kind of like the Lions this week. Just saying.
Oh, okay. I'm plugging it in right now just because you
hmm
said that.
I know it. I know it. It's going to
Good.
bite you in the ass because I endorse the Lions. They're going to lose like 34-7. Um, but
All right. So
but I
50.
like them. I like
Yeah,
them. But
I like it too.
5,400 left gives us the possibility of looking at a Sterling Shepard who's been getting the ball slung all over to him. Taylor Gabriel, who's turned out to be Chicago's number 1 choice. Yeah, you can go down to Marvin Jones. You can get for 4,800. Um, Jordy Nelson, who now is without Amari Cooper for 4,700. There's some good choices down here.
I who do I like? I'm leaning towards Shepard or Gabriel would be my.
Yeah, I like Gabriel. They're playing the Jets, right?
Yep.
And Trubisky's been on fire. I mean, I like Gabriel a lot. I played him a little bit last week. He let me down a little bit, but I'm not shy to take another shot at him.
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, he 33 points, 19 points, 6 points last week, basically.
hmm
So
But I will tell you, Sterling Shepard, 2 out of the last 5 weeks, has scored over 20 points. And that is something that excites me a little bit.
Yeah, and he's going against a weak Washington secondary.
That are going to have to double cover OBJ because that dude's been on fire.
Right. So it's a coin toss for me because I mean the Jets are second to last in pass defense.
Hmm.
So you have to think Trubinsky's gonna be checking the ball everywhere.
Sure.
So I don't
And
care.
you also have the possibility of the Giants just, uh, strapping onto the old Saquon Barkley train and, tearing them up a little bit. They're at home. They're trying to make a couple of points, they're trying to get some people excited about trading more players, is what I think.
Well, and that's why I think I actually personally think they're gonna pull Barkley back because
Yeah,
that's the
think he'll
one
throw the ball
piece.
more.
Yep, that's the
Try to
one piece.
showcase Eli a little bit, try to get some trade value for him.
Yep, exactly. Barkley's the one piece they're not going to trade,
Hmm.
and he's their future, so they're not going to risk him getting hurt.
Hmm.
And they want to. They're going to. If they could trade Shepard, they would trade him. If they
Sure.
could trade Eli, they would trade him.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of leaning towards Shepard here because I think the Giants are just going to toss the ball all over the place.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do always have that in the back of my head, staying away from guys that have career games. And Shepard blew up for 167 last week, so it worries me a little bit to try to go back to the well with him. But I think you're right. I think those are really the guys they're trying to showcase.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's plug him in.
Yeah, it looks like a nice lineup. I'd read it, but we shouldn't do that.
No, no.
No. But that looks like a nice lineup. I mean, there's a lot of great guys in there. So the last thing I want to do here is, and I got to get out of here. I got to get back to work. My lunch break is over. And let's see, where's my paper that I can write on? Let's see. What we like to do a lot is go through and recommend our favorite plays, a high end, a mid range, and a bargain play. So
Oh, by the way, did you see my preseason tipsy pick with his 2 touchdowns last week?
who was that?
Michael Roberts.
Oh, Michael Roberts. Yeah, nice. Yes, I did. I did. I have seen also that Austin Hooper has outscored on Johnson, just saying.
Yeah, yeah. That's going to change really fast.
So I sent actually a message. I was chatting back and forth with Dr. Roto, and I said, "Hey, remember when you came on the show and my co-host and you agreed on on Johnson, and I said my favorite pick of the preseason was Austin Hooper." I said, "Guess who's got more fantasy points so far?" Although Hooper kind of let me down, but it was good because I already had the win, and the only guy that could beat me was my brewery league. Is the guy had Austin Hooper, and so I needed Hooper to score less than 10.5. So I'm glad he kind of had a down game for that 1 week, but he's actually been pretty impressive this year for a guy who was on nobody's radar but mine, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead and go back to the QB slate for a minute here, Mark, on the main slate, and give me your top, your middle, and your bargain guy at QB.
All right. 1 second. Let me pull him up. Do 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 do. Sorry.
You're fine. I'm just looking through myself here. I'll start here. How's that? I'll start
Okay.
with QB here. My high-end guy is going to be Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to throw the ball possibly 50 times, and I just think that they're going to play behind that whole game, and he's just going to have to be Aaron Rodgers. He's just going to have to throw the ball.
I agree with you there. And I'll throw in Patrick Mahomes. I think he's matchup proof, and he's back home where he's doing even better than he has been on the road.
I like that. My mid-range guy is going to be Jameis Winston. I think that they are still just going to have to throw the ball. They have no running game. Cincy tends to play better at home, so they should give him a fight, and it could be a blowout game. So I like Jameis Winston a lot as my mid-range guy.
And I'm going to go with Trubinsky. I just look at this as the Jets have a decent run defense, but they can't stop anybody on the pass. So I see him throwing the ball all over the place in their 300 2 or 3 touchdown game.
I like it. My last lineup pick here, my bargain basement guy, just in case you want to get all those high-end guys in there, I'm going to go ahead and trust in Eli Manning again. I think you're right. I think they're going to try to throw the ball. I think they're going to try to showcase him one last week because I think, was it Tuesday's the trade deadline? And if he can put up a big game, they just may be able to trade him. And I keep hearing Jacksonville, and I actually think that'd be a good move for Jacksonville. So I'm going to go Eli as my bargain basement $4,900 quarterback.
Yeah, and that's who I was going to take too. I'm right on board
Sounds great.
with that. All right, running back. My top guy's Gurley. If you can get him in at that price, it's 9,800. Play him. He's going to be in all my cash lineups.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to call the high end guy for myself. I'm going to go ahead with Kareem Hunt at 7,100. Not quite as high end as Gurley, of course, but Hunt has really started to just tear it up. They're at home. I don't think that Denver can answer them. And Hunt for the last 3 weeks, the last 4 weeks, has put up 29.5 and then 16.4, but against that Jacksonville D, and then 32.5 and 37.1. The guy's just on fire right now, and I just can't get him out of a lineup.
Yeah, I agree.
What
Uh,
about a mid-range guy for you?
well, I'm going with my boy on Johnson. I see Detroit getting out to a lead in this like they did against Miami, and then they're just going to run the ball.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I'm going to go a little different direction than my mid-range guy, and he's not, he's creeping up a little bit, but I think I'm going to pick on my 49ers, and I'm going to go ahead and spin the wheel on David Johnson again.
Yeah, I like David Johnson, and
Mhm.
and he's come down in price, so it's a good play.
Yeah, he's got 6,700, and he hasn't been terribly impressive. He's only had 2 games at about 20 points on DraftKings, but they did switch up their offensive coordinator. Byron Leftwich has taken over and has promised to get the ball into David Johnson's hands.
Right. So how old are we when Byron Leftwich is now a coordinator?
Right?
I remember when he was drafted.
Yeah, certainly, indeed, indeed. Then for my bargain basement pick for running backs, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not in love with any of the low end guys this week. I guess some people are kind of liking Jalen Richard in Oakland now that Lynch is on IR. Of course, people still love Aaron Jones for no apparent reason at 4,100. I've never been a fan. Um, I don't know if I like any of these guys down at the bottom. I guess my favorite one, if you want a real bargain basement, is in that same game with Arizona is Raheem Mostart. Um, Alf Morris has been basically forced out of the lineup there. Breda, it needs to break every other time he runs because his ankle's just not healthy. And even with all three of them in the backfield last week, I mean, Mostart still got 7 carries with all three of them in the backfield. So 3,900 against a team with a terrible, or 3,800 with a terrible run defense. And I just think that they've got nothing to lose. I mean, they're what, 1-6 now? Might as well let the young guy take a shot.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm kind of torn on my low end. I want to go with Chris Carson because I know Detroit just traded for a run stopper, but they're still not proven. And but I kind of see Detroit getting out to a lead here, so Carson might not be the best pick. Um, and I like Nick Chubb, but Pittsburgh's got a decent running um, defense.
Hmm.
But Chubb started getting passes this week now that he's the number one guy. So I think I'm gonna go with Chubb here.
I don't think that's bad at all. I agree with you. I just noticed the guy right above him, $100 more. How low has the stock on Jordan Howard fallen to have him at 4,800 on DraftKings?
They Chicago cannot figure out how to use this guy.
Mhm. It's pretty simple. You just shove him up the middle, don't you?
Yeah, but they don't do it.
Mm-hmm. It's just shocking. This guy is a top 10 draft last year. Um, some leagues this year, a top 10 draft, and he's just fallen off the planet. Just terrible. So moving on to wide receiver here. Do
Okay.
bop bop do. I'm loving it. So I think I already made this pretty clear when we were building our lineup that I love AJ Green. So he's probably my top tier guy. I just love him. Tampa Bay's got a strong enough offense so they can compete. I like Antonio Brown, but I think that they might not necessarily need to air it out to beat Cleveland. So I'm really on AJ Green. I don't fault you for Devontae Adams either, but AJ Green's probably my top guy in the top end.
And I'm gonna go with Brown for my
Hmm.
top end. I Pittsburgh is at home. They, for some reason, really enjoy embarrassing Cleveland.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I don't see them just all of a sudden, let's just run the ball to slow the game down. I see them passing all over the place. So I see Brown is the top target there.
What can Brown do for you?
Yep.
Speaking of Brown, my mid-range target, I think I'm going to go back to the well with John Brown. Um,
I
he
love it.
had the first 4 weeks, he tore it up. He had a couple of down weeks, and then he absolutely lit it up against New Orleans. He's got Carolina. They're on the road. Carolina's defense obviously a little bit better than New Orleans, but I think he just had to shake off a couple of bad weeks. He blew up last week, and I think he just continues to go. And this guy. He's averaging, even with those two crappy weeks, he's averaging 16 points a game. You take out those two crappy weeks, he's averaging almost 20 points a game, DraftKings points, and he's at 5,900. I just don't see how you pass up on that in that price range.
No, that's a great, great call. Um, I'm going to go with T.Y. Hilton against a demoralized Raiders team.
Well, a couple of my season-long teams would be very favorable if that happened.
Yeah, I mean, it it looks like Indianapolis is back on track now. Um, what do you throw for? 4 touchdowns last week.
Hmm. Hmm.
The Raiders are in the bottom third of the league against the pass, so I think he'd be a good mid-range play. I'll have him in a few GPPs.
I agree with you. For my bargain basement guy, I like Christian Kirk. I mean, Larry Fitz has been banged up. They're not forcing the ball to him. San Francisco's terrible. It all lines up for Christian Kirk to continue to have a good season.
Um, I'm gonna roll on your boy Valdez Scantling.
Yeah, even with Cobb and possibly Allison back, possibly.
Yeah, I just I just see this as a shootout, and Rodgers, he spreads the ball everywhere. I, if you're looking at a $4,000 receiver, either him or Godwin.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I like Godwin a lot there too. Actually, you know what? I like Godwin even more than Christian Kirk. I'm gonna change my answer. I like Godwin. Godwin's my boy.
Yeah, Godwin's a good
If
one.
if you want to get ultra cheap and you need to get underneath that 4,000, I said it earlier. I do like Adam Humphries. If you want to go even lower than that, you're in deep trouble. Don't do it.
Yep. Yeah. Save money on tight end.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Who was your bargain wide receiver?
Who did I say?
Ah,
Valdez Scantling.
yes. Valdez. All right, switching over to tight end here. What's your thoughts? Who's your favorite top end tight end?
Kelsey. I don't see. There's no tight end better in the game right now.
Yeah, I agree. And because Ertz isn't on the slate, I mean, he's definitely absolutely tearing it up. It seems like George Kittle is basically the only part of the offense that's proven for San Francisco. So it's going to be really hard to fit Kelsey in lineup. So I'm going to probably, for me, the top guy that I would pay for this week is going to have to be Kittle. I think Hunt's going to just destroy Denver. Um, I, I'm just a bigger fan of Kittle this week.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Hmm. Um, hmm. I mean, you got Ebron as well, but Oakland actually does play against the tight end well. But yeah, that's probably it for my high end guy. For my lower end guy, I like OJ Howard, or my middle range guy. I like OJ Howard at 3,900. I think that offense is just kind of humming, and OJ is a big part of it.
Yeah, I like that too. I also like in Cleveland.
Hmm. Uh, Not your boy Uzuma.
No, he's he's just not getting the targets.
That's true. Absolutely. If you got to go down to the bargain basement, you can take a shot on Cameron Brate. He is involved in the game. He is a touchdown threat. 2,700. Chris Herndon's turned it on a little bit at 2,800 for the Jets versus Chicago. Um, I don't know. Nobody else.
No, I mean this is a week that I really wouldn't pay for low end. Wouldn't go too low on
Yeah,
tight end.
I'm with you.
Maybe Jesse James if you wanted to take a flyer, but
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree. All right. Well, that sounds pretty good, Mark. I got to get back to work.
don't want to talk about kickers.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All
Greg,
right,
Greg
cool.
the leg, and don't worry about anybody else.
All right, so thank you for listening to Draft for Upside, and we will talk to you, or we will have another podcast next week. And look
And,
for us on channels all across the internet.
and you might see us pop up some little mini videos too.
Yeah, so we're going to be
Yeah,
expanding the podcast.
I like it.
It'll be nice.
All right. Great
All
to
right.
talk to you, Mark. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you later.